The global apocalypse is coming. The main character, Choi Seon, accidentally activates the absolute isolation system. As long as he don't allow it, no matter how strong the monster is, it can't enter. But the young man could not have imagined that the system would isolate him from society. Home cannot go out. Food is running out. Choi Seon has no choice but to kill the monsters near his house, to get points to exchange for supplies from the system. Can he survive in his own house after all? One day, the world suddenly fell into crisis. A pandemic has broken out, with television reporting large groups of infected people. The total number of infected people is 740,000, with an average age of 25 to 30. And in addition, war causes enormous losses. Economic downturn, food shortages, such dire omens have appeared. The people who put the final nail in the coffin of humanity were not themselves. The thing that brought about the end of humanity was a game-like character. What happened next was predictable, as in novels where people with supernatural powers appear. However, there is something different between fiction and reality. Those people are not strong enough to be able to end those dark days. 3 days later, in a messy room, the main character picked up a snack and ate it greedily. He did everything regardless of the world outside, because the world was not completely destroyed yet, and he was still able to live a normal life. But he was completely alone. The main character sat alone in the room, because he is the only one left in this 100-man apartment. The main character said that his grandparents and parents were all outside, but in the end, his father decided to buy this place by borrowing 200 million won from the bank and adding 200 million won, which was all the family's assets, to be able to buy it. The reason I stay here, even though I wasn't born into a wealthy family, is because someone needs to live here for 2 years before they can get the tax benefits of buying a home. That's why he came to this place, and it was locked inside after the apocalypse suddenly happened. The main character frowned and looked at the phone. After the apocalypse, the internet was completely cut off. He sighed, dissatisfied with life. Suddenly, the monster's scream caught his attention. The flying monster saw him, and it decided to rush in and eat the main character. He was startled and stepped back, only knowing how to curse. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed both the building and its prey. The main character was so scared that he could only sit in one place and scream continuously. But strangely, nothing happened to him. The main character slowly looked up and saw the system panel appear in front of him. An unauthorized object is trying to attack. Absolute isolation. Level 1, passive house control. No one is allowed to enter the house without the homeowner's permission. He saw that and breathed a sigh of relief. He regained his composure, stood up, and walked to the window. The only reason the main character is still alive today is all thanks to this ability. On the 3rd day after the apocalypse, the protagonist angrily tries to open the door of the room. But nothing worked. He angrily kicked the door. It still doesn't change anything. The main character angrily kicked the door again and cursed loudly. He gave up and returned to his trash-filled room. Thanks to that ability, the main character was completely trapped in this house. Time passed by. Now he was sitting in a corner of the room. The system board shows the information again: when activating absolute isolation mode, you cannot leave the house. The main character looked at the system with a dark face and muttered, "Absolute isolation, my ass." He ruffled his hair. "I can't do anything." Then glanced to the right. Looking at the food that was almost gone, he could only helplessly survive. The refrigerator has been out since yesterday. He has been living on this food for the past few days, but it certainly won't last long. The main character bit his finger and muttered fearfully, "There are only a few packs of noodles left now." Suddenly, the system board displayed information that caught his attention. You have hunted a level 23 Calican. You have gained a large amount of experience. Your skill level has increased. It continues to show you have received a large amount of skills. Your skill level has been increased. Looking at the system board made him surprised. The main character wondered and looked out the window to see what it was like. Then saw the monster that wanted to eat him. The other day was dead under the apartment building. Seeing the monsters eating each other made him feel disgusted. He wondered if he was hunting it because it broke into his house. The system continues to display you have activated a new skill. A recent item has met the requirements. Victory calculation. Suddenly, the monster's joyful cheers startled him. They were like being given food by the gods, constantly looking up in worship. The main character wondered, "What's wrong? Why are they suddenly acting like that?" After a while of eating their own kind, for some reason, they seemed to be tired and in severe pain. The system board continued to appear. The winning calculation process was completed. 221324111 was sent to the host's wallet. The main character was confused, standing there dumbfounded. Suddenly, the electricity in his room lit up again. Is this because of the system? His skill information panel appeared again. Absolute isolation. Passive council declaration level 3. No one is allowed to enter the house without the owner's permission. Absolute isolation protects dignity level 1. To retain your dignity, half the functionality of the house will be restored. Host's wallet max level. Balance 2,203,241. The main character froze when he saw the functional information of the house. He happily clenched his fists and exclaimed, "It's restored." The main character rushed to the refrigerator to check, then saw that the power was restored. The refrigerator was working normally. He was curious, so he turned on the faucet. Then to the electric stove. His mouth cannot hide the smile. He cried tears of joy, shouting, "It's working again. It's back to the state it was before the apocalypse." Is it working now? The main character held up his phone to probe, but unexpectedly it still doesn't have Wi-Fi. The main character had to give up and sigh helplessly. Suddenly he noticed something. It was a USB stick lying on the floor. Then he immediately started checking with his computer. I just didn't expect that there would be family pictures in that USB. He grew up from childhood to adulthood, have a wonderful time with family. Until his birthday, the three of them were always together. The main character gritted his teeth and remained strangely silent. Then he breathed a sigh of relief. The main character's determination begins to rise. At any rate, I need to bring my family here. He stood up from the computer chair. Then he looked up at the sky through the window. He clenched his hands, deciding what he wanted to do. Suddenly a system notification appears. Level 1 store is completely isolated. You can buy items listed in the store at original price. His pale face gradually became better when he saw the word store. In the bulletin board, absolute quarantine store. Please list the items you want to buy. Balance 2,203,293,1. Do you want to list for the first time? System board pops up absolute quarantine notice. LV1 store. You can buy the items listed in the store at original price. Sion's expression was a little hesitant. Store. After thinking for a moment, he slowly reached out and pressed the store icon. It shows new content. Again, LV host wallet, maximum balance 2,203,241. Do you want to register for the first time listing? While the system made a new request, Sion was lost in thought. Looking at how it tells me how much money I have, this seems to have something to do with that absolute isolation system. He tried to open the window, but the system panel still appeared before his eyes without disappearing. Choi Seon couldn't help but feel helpless, as I thought it didn't work. Even though my skill level has increased a bit, I still can't get out. But one thing I am sure of. If I hunt monsters, then my level will increase and I will get new skills. If I level up, maybe I can get a skill that allows me to go outside, Choi Seon muttered. But how can I kill monsters? It is hard to expect a situation like the one before to happen again. Then his eyes fell on a bird monster that had fallen to the ground. He suddenly realized something. Wait, I can kill goblins. Sion got a bottle of water. Then he slowly raised his hand behind him and threw it out into the open air. Seeing the water bottle being thrown away so forcefully, Choi Seon happily said, "Great." It worked, and thought to himself, I can throw household items outside. Having guessed that Sion went to find something else to throw. What he found was a small weight. Sion smiled excitedly. I have to try this. Suddenly, a strange noise made him jump and say, "Ah!" That sound was from a group of goblins arguing over food or something. A bunch of goblins, big and small, gathered together. They seemed to have taken their food and then returned to their lair. Choi Seon, who was trying to test his strength, couldn't help but angrily curse, "Damn it, don't go," when he saw his target leave. He quickly took the opportunity to try throwing this dumbbell. Oh! As he threw it, he nervously shouted, "Please don't miss." The dumbbell fell to the ground with such devastating force that the elves had to turn their heads to look back. At this time, Choi Seon was sweating profusely because of fear. Oh, I was fooled. This is the last thing I have left. What to do now? There is nothing in this house that can kill those goblins. I am not strong enough to lift the TV or computer and throw it out. Suddenly, a shrill scream of the evil spirit rang out. Below the building, a bunch of goblins were staring up at him. They angrily bared their teeth and growled. Seeing such a terrifying scene, Sion's expression stiffened. The goblins still shouted in unison. Immediately after that, they ran towards the apartment. But faced with this rather scary situation, Sion calmly thought, wait, it's not too bad. At this distance, he suddenly exclaimed, ah, immediately call the system to open the store. It still shows the text Absolute Quarantine Store. Please list your item. Balance 2-203-2391. List. He did not hesitate to click on the list. The system asked again, are you sure you want to list this item? Sion replied, I'm sure. The dumbbell measuring system is on his hand. On the screen is the text, listing. A moment later, it caught the new notifications. A 3-kilo classic anti-slip dumbbell was listed. Absolute Quarantine Store. A 3-kilo classic anti-slip dumbbell was listed, $16,991, balance 2203, 239.1 listing. After reading it, Sion was a bit surprised and thought, the price is no different from when I bought it. It seems the market exchange rate here is still the same as before the apocalypse. A notification sounds from the system, classic anti-slip dumbbells, 3-kilo quantity 2. Purchase. He happily replied buy. A beam of light from the system panel shone out. Just like that, a fruit gradually appeared. Sion happily clenched his fists. Okay. Great. If you throw it like this, there will still be a chance. As soon as he finished speaking, another weight was thrown from Sion's room. This time, the throw luckily hit the head of the unlucky goblin. The system displays a new notification. You have hunted a LV7 goblin. You have received XP 33451 has been sent to your wallet. After reading it, he happily shouted great. The situation below was now a group of goblins approaching the goblin that had just been hit on the head. They shouted angrily. But who would have thought a weight was thrown down again? Missed the shot, so Sion felt annoyed. Oh shit. The system displays a new message. You have purchased 3 sets of 3-kilo classic sliding dumbbells. 3 dumbbells appear one after another. So Choi Seon kept throwing the dumbbells to the ground. This time it hit another goblin and it groaned in pain. The system pops up again. You have hunted a LV6 goblin. 2512-1 has been sent to your wallet. Your skill level has increased. You have acquired a new skill. Sion said excitedly, great. The new skill is Absolute Isolation Storage LV1. An alternate dimension used to store items. He thought to himself this time it was the archive and said, open archive. A dumbbell appeared in his hand. It pops up asking, are you sure you want to put this item in inventory? He quickly replies, sure. Dumbbells slowly disappear. The system keeps repeating the message Absolute Quarantine Storage. Classic anti-slip dumbbell 3-kilo quantity 1. Do you want to retrieve the item? Sion's eyes sparkled yes. A dumbbell appeared in the palm of his hand. Sion happily said great and thought to himself, I can summon items from the storage to any place I want. Then, a ray of light appeared in his house. His voice rang out open archive. Sion's hand was held out in front of the system board. He took a deep breath and kept saying, summon the weight, summon the weight, summon the weight, summon the weight. A series of weights kept falling on the goblins. They just stared. And then received death. The system board keeps on chiming. You have hunted a LV5 elf. You have hunted a LV5 goblin. You have hunted a LV7 goblin. You have collected a large amount of XP. 54661 has been sent to your wallet. Would you like to list more items? List? Sion's face looked like it was about to bloom. The main character thought he had listed 10 items after the store opened. The system displayed the information the store was in absolute isolation. Classic 3 kilos anti-slip dumbbells, 11, 16, 991, Janin mild, 11, 31, Sour Downs, 1, Sisu water, 21x, 12, 12, 400, 1, 5K GX1 rice 14 890, 1 special eggs, 10 3 950, 1 easy to digest milk, 930 yaml, 12 6 220, 1 oi young band seaweed, 12 24 packs, 9 800, 1 canola oil, 900 ml, 12 12 330, 1 used tomato sauce, 1 500 11 3 3 taudi, 1 balance 2 178, 8 shosao, 1 item list. The main character stood in front of the system thinking I sold the dumbbell I used to beat the goblins as well as all kinds of groceries and daily necessities. He suddenly exclaimed, huh? When you see the system display notification that the LV homeowner's wallet has a maximum balance of 2,178,8061, he wondered what I just lost 1-1. It doesn't cost money to keep dignity, right? He gritted his teeth and turned his head to look back. Then analyzed the electricity and water bill. Must be the refrigerator. The main character groaned, that's tough. He muttered uncomfortably, these damn goblins. He remembered after hunting goblins by throwing weights at them, they ran away back to their lair. He calculated since then, I have only killed 2. The main character stepped out onto the balcony, looked up at the sky, and wondered irritably, "Damn. Is there any other creature I can hunt?" Below the ground is the monster that was destroyed, only the skeleton remains. He absent-mindedly answered himself, "There isn't a single one." And then he thought, "I have to find another method." Main character looked up at the sky and sighed. He looked up at the clear blue sky and said, "I wonder if I'll be lucky enough to wait until a stupid Callaghan flies by here." While he was looking, he suddenly saw a familiar figure was hovering in the sky. He suddenly exclaimed, "That's a ferocious monster." A Callaghan, he realized in surprise. The main character hurriedly ran into the house, his heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you, God. You never leave me." He tied the mirror to the side of the clothes rack, then put the drying rack out on the balcony. The main character uses the reflection from the mirror to attract Callaghan. It was immediately attracted to the glowing spot. It makes horrible noises, then quickly swooped down to the balcony where the main character was standing. Callaghan opened his mouth wide as if he wanted to swallow him. The main character secretly rejoiced it worked. Callaghan still opened his mouth wide. He kept emitting terrifying howls. Then he swooped down in front of the balcony. He smiled triumphantly and thought, "At this rate, any release will work." He looked at the monster and thought, "I'll definitely level up if I kill that thing." Callaghan suddenly released a large gust of air that forced him to hold onto the floor to keep from flying away. He had difficulty standing. The main character struggled to raise his head in the strong wind and then suddenly became absent-minded. He exclaimed, "What the hell?" He quickly poked his head out from the door. When he heard the monster's scream, he couldn't believe it and exclaimed impossible when he saw it clinging to the wall. Callaghan opened his mouth wide in threat. He was shocked to see the scene before his eyes. Callaghan suddenly closed his beak, then used his sturdy beak to stab hard into the barrier. At this moment, the system announced an unauthorized entity is trying to enter. The announcement that an unauthorized entity was attempting to enter rang out continuously, along with its relentless attacks. He worriedly wondered, "It can't get in, can it?" He reminded himself, "I have to do something." Then quickly opened the shop wide. System shows absolute quarantine store. Classic 3 kilos, empty weights 11, 16, 991 Jan ramen mild 11, 31,001 water 21x 12, 12, 401 rice 5 kg KX1 14, 891 special eggs 10, 3, 950 1 easy to digest milk 930 ml 8, 12, 6, 220 1 seaweed Y band 12, 24 packs 9, 800 1 canola oil 900 ml 12, 12, 330 1 tomato sauce used half 500 gray 11, 3, 350 1 balance 2, 178 816 1 list. The main character analyzes from what I've observed so far. Loot calculation will only happen if the corpse is nearby. He assessed goblin hunting is not very promising. He recalled, they dragged the bodies away, and those bodies didn't count as victories. He gritted his teeth in anger, thinking, in other words, if the distance exceeds a certain limit, then it won't count as spoils of war. He was determined I can't let that happen. He wondered, is there any way to kill it in one go? The main character observes the list of quarantine stores that the system is displaying. Suddenly he thought of something. He decided to take 10 bottles of canola oil. The system confirmed, "Are you sure you want to buy?" He didn't think twice and replied, "Yes." He immediately gave him 10 bottles of canola oil. He grabbed 10 bottles of canola oil and quickly ran into the house. The main character took the pot and put it on the stove. He poured all the canola oil he had just bought into the pot. He kept increasing the cooking temperature. While waiting for the canola oil to boil, he took a wooden stick, wrapped a towel around the end of the stick, and secured it tightly with tape. After a series of operations, he quickly dipped the towel-wrapped head into the pot of oil. He held the pot of boiling oil and said, "Open the store and choose storage." The system asked, "Do you want to import this item?" He replied, "Yes." With that, he poured all the oil into the system's storage tank. The system says, "Boiled rapeseed oil has been added." Main character reaches for lighter. He turned on the lighter. Ignite the part of the towel that was dipped in oil earlier. The fire that came into contact with the oil quickly flared up. He stepped out onto the balcony. Callaghan was clinging to the wall above. He got into fighting stance. Then shout summon boiled rapeseed oil. The system dropped hot rapeseed oil on the monster, causing it to scream in pain. It writhed. He took this opportunity to throw the wooden stick in his hand towards it while screaming die. Burning wood came into contact with boiling rapeseed oil on Callaghan's body. The fire flared up, fiercely engulfing it in a red curtain of flames. He happily said, "I did it." Callaghan was burned and fell down. The main character watched the monster fall in pain. It still keeps struggling in the air. It was eventually completely destroyed. System notification. You have successfully defeated the LV-27C Con. You have received a large amount of EXP. Your skill level has increased. You have acquired a new skill. It continues the information. A recent item has met the requirement. Loot calculation. After a while, it shows calculation completed. The system announced that 9,347,487.1 had been deposited into the homeowner's wallet. The main character stuttered in disbelief. 9 million. He pointed at the number displayed on the system in surprise. I'm almost at 10 million. The system again displays the information. The requirements have been met. It announces that the territorial expansion of the house has begun. The house started moving. The main character exclaimed in surprise. What? The house kept moving and he shouted, "What the hell is this?" The whites of his eyes gradually turned black. The scenery around him was like covered with a layer of film. He painfully covered his face, and it seemed like he could see through the wall. His vision went out to the hallway outside his house. Suddenly he saw a family consisting of a man, a woman, and 2 children sitting together in the living room. He suddenly exclaimed, "There is someone." He wondered if they were his next-door neighbors. At this moment, strange numbers appeared in Seon's head. He held his head and shouted in panic, "What's going on?" Next-door neighbors are worried about what is going on. At this time, his head hurt more and more. He painfully called out, "Everyone." Then suddenly, a black smoke appeared around Seon, making him scream in pain. After a while, the black smoke disappeared. Seon was skeptical about what just happened. The system screen suddenly showed the information of the neighbors next door. The first was the guy wearing glasses, Choi Hyung-jun husband, late 30s. Long hair girl, Park Hae-won wife over 30 years old. 2 daughters, Choi Nyoen the eldest 6 years old, and Choi Seo-yoon the youngest 3 years old. The system screen displays below you have discovered creatures that meet the conditions to be recruited as residents. System continues. Do you want to give them residency rights? After the display, Seon entered the house and thought, what if I don't choose resident rights? The system replied, creatures without resident rights will be expelled from the house. The system asked, are you sure you want to give them resident rights? Seon thought fearfully. If I don't give them resident rights, they will all be threatened by monsters. After thinking carefully, Seon also decided with the system to give the 4 of them resident rights. Receiving the command, the system also confirmed Choi Hyung-jun Park, Hee-won Choi Nyeon, and Choi Seo-yeon will be given resident rights. After confirming the 4 neighbors' residents, Seon also received a new skill cool. I might get another skill related to resident rights too. Let's check it out. System shows first skill, Absolute Isolation, Ultimate Eye Level 1. Effect nothing in the house can escape your eyes. Choi Seon browsed the system. Are there any good skills? Is there anything else related to the residents? As expected, the second skill is Absolute Isolation Passive Homeowner Rights. The function is that no one can enter the house without the permission of the resident manager. While surfing, Seon found the skill he wanted. Oh, here it is. The system displays the reputation index of the residents. Choi Hyung-jun, Level 9, Reputation 24. Park Hae-won, Level 5, Reputation 18. Choi Nyeon, Level 3, Reputation 33. Choi Seo-yeon, Level 2, Reputation 42. Current population 4 out of 600. Seon suddenly exclaimed, isn't 600 people too many people? He clicked on Choi Hyung-jun's information and it appeared. Name Choi Hyung-jun, Level 9, Reputation 24, Awakened Ability, 0 Experience Sharing Rate, 0% Money Sharing Rate, 0%. Assigned the task or expulsion. Click to read through the information section. Seon thought the ratio of money and experience sharing. He analyzed the thought, probably the experience and money they share with me. I can choose the level I want. Seon thought with a sinister smile. This time I will become stronger by doing this. Looking at the system, he saw how also got give tasks. Display system task assignment. Task description. Time limit. Reward penalty if failed. Seon was surprised at the VIP level of the system. I get to describe the mission myself. So then, first quest. Quest description. Goblin hunting quest. Time limit 168 hours. Reward small amount of experience. Failure penalty none. Do you want to assign this task, yes or no? Thinking about the task he just assigned, there will probably be a basic reward. How severe can the punishment be? Adjusting the death punishment. Update reward and punishment show up. Assign quest description. Quest hunt a goblin. Time limit 168 hours. Reward a small amount of experience. Failure penalty death. Dead, do you want to give this quest yes or no? Thinking again, this penalty seemed a bit harsh, so Sion hesitated and thought, no. The system confirmed you have cancelled the request. Seeing the absolute obedience of the mission, Sion understood that if I wanted to, I could kill my own people at any time. Cannot help but be surprised by the power. Is this my ability? Choi Seon thought to himself, what should I do now? He activate the ultimate eye skill. Skill activated around Sion spread black smoke covering the entire resident room. Next door, Sion found I can see everyone. The wife said to her husband, honey, what should we do now? The husband rubbed his head in frustration. What else can we do? At least we have to go out to get some water to drink. I also want to stay here with you and the baby and wait. The wife worried, it can't be too dangerous. I know, but we have no other choice. The skeptical wife said, where is there water now? Helpless, but the husband wanted to try going out to get something for his wife and children. He wanted to try going to the nearby convenience store to see what it was like. It was so big, there must be something there. The children also began to get tired. Mom, I'm so thirsty. Hearing his wife and children's cries, the husband could only helplessly hold his hand. Seoyeon. The determined husband said, do you trust me? I'll definitely bring something back, so just wait here for me. Because of hunger and because of the child, the wife gritted her teeth and agreed. Back in the room, Sion turned off the ultimate eye. After thinking of using skill to see the dialogue of his residents, Sion felt worried for them. Situation is worse than I thought. Open shop. Above the store is the list of items. Sion was annoyed. If there was a place to add items, it would be good. Open the skill window. Absolute Isolation Skill System Level 1 Store. You can buy items available in the store at original price point. 3. Passive Dignity Preservation. Level 1. To preserve your dignity, half of the house's functions will be restored. Point 3. Level 1. Warehouse, another space to store items. Point 3. Sion was happy to know that he could store more items in the system. Great. The system displayed again. Do you want to upgrade the skills of the person in absolute isolation? Sion immediately replied, yes. The system is glowing. It seems like it is preparing to level up its skill. Sion looked back and saw that his skills had really leveled up. The quarantined person's shop had reached level 2. The number of available items had increased to 20. All items are also 10% off. After leveling up and increasing the number of items to 20, Sion thought, oh, that's good. But suddenly remembered I have 2 more points. I have to invest in the store and preserve my dignity. From now on, I will probably have more residents. Sion decided to upgrade to level 3. Looking back at the updated system, the quarantined person's shop is level 3. The number of available items has increased to 40. You have the ability to restore items. Sion thought the ability to restore items to turn old things into new ones. Happy because of the VIP pro ability of the skill, very good, worth the effort to upgrade to level 3. He immediately opened the store to check. Absolute Isolation. Level 3 shop. You can buy items in the shop at original price, while surfing Sion can buy Sunday water and Jeju tangerines. Seeing that there were too few skills to upgrade, Sion decided to upgrade the other skills. Do you want to upgrade the skill of preserving the dignity of the absolute quarantiner? Yes. If I can provide electricity and water to my neighbors, I will have many other things in return. System display. The skill to preserve the dignity of the person under absolute isolation is now LV2. You can have register vassals? What is a register vassal? Over here, the neighbor's husband is preparing to go out to get food. The wife and daughters worried about their father, honey. Seeing his wife and children worried, the husband smiled and comforted them. I'll be back soon. While I'm gone, you have to protect this house. The 2 daughters worriedly asked, Dad, are you really going out? The husband comforted his 2 children. Dad is going out to find some food and drinks for the family. When Dad is not home, you have to listen to Mom. The little girl kept crying as if she wanted her dad not to go. She couldn't say it, but the brave girl held back and said loudly, there are monsters outside. Remembering the time before the monsters started appearing, the image of two sisters next door happily playing in the sand. A pack of ferocious monsters appeared. The two little sisters were extremely scared when they saw the monster. The older sister immediately grabbed her younger sister's hand and ran really fast. Just when they thought they wouldn't be able to run in time, their parents came and hugged them tightly while running quickly home. When recalling that dangerous image, the father really did not want it to happen again. The mother tried her best to comfort her two children. "Stop crying. It's okay." The husband began to think deeply about the future. "This may be the last time I see my mother and children." Unable to think about that scene any longer, the husband bit his lip to keep from shaking his will. There was a knock at the door at this moment. All four were scared. The wife hugged her two children tightly to protect them. The husband held a stick ready to attack immediately if anyone rushed in. Outside the door, the knocking became more and more urgent. The people inside became more and more worried. Suddenly, a human voice came from outside the door. "Excuse me, can you open the door, please?" The husband heard the sound of people and became more and more scared, sweat running down his face. Awakened to the sound of a human. Is it human? But it could also be a monster. Too dangerous, but, interrupting the husband's thoughts, voices outside kept ringing. "Is anyone home?" All four people were scared and trembling, not knowing what to do. Outside the door, the knocking grew louder and louder, then stopped again without sound. The husband trembled. "Is he gone?" Staring at the door. Suddenly the door was opened. The husband stared with wide eyes in fear. Immediately rushed to hug and protect his wife and children and shouted, "No, Hayuan I." The husband shouted, "Don't hurt my wife and children," and suddenly heard hello. Not understanding what was happening, the husband peeked to see if it was a human or a monster. It turned out that it was Sion who brought food to his residence. The man was scared and didn't know who this was, so he shouted loudly, "Who are you?" Sion then introduced himself. Hello, I'm Choi Sion. I live next door." After saying that, Sion immediately brought the bag in his hand and gave it to them. "I have some water and fruit. After everyone finishes eating, can we talk for a bit?" The man hesitantly replied, "That." But he thinks again, looking at wife and children hungry because there is no food for a few days. The new man saw the water and food. "I have no reason to refuse. This person might be able to help my family." He happily accepted and invited Sion come in. Seoyeon and Nayeon stared at him like they wanted to eat him alive. Seon looked at the children in front of him in confusion and thought to himself, "Did I shock them too much? But that black curtain is wise." He looked around for a while, then concluded, the image of a small dark room without a single bit of light coming in, 5 people sitting around the table eating cake together before his eyes. Because it can actually reduce the risk of being attacked by monsters, Seon thought as he bit into the cake in his hand. He looked up at the ceiling for a long time. "First, we have some light in here." Seon's eyes suddenly emitted a green light. In his mind, he gave the command light. Then the light on the ceiling suddenly turned on, surprising everyone. Hyungjun exclaimed, "There's electricity." He didn't pay attention to what he said and started rummaging through his backpack. Seon handed the bottle of water he had taken to Hyungjun in front of him and said, "First, let's give the kids some water." This action made him a bit confused. "Ah, yes, thank you." Hyungjun took turns sharing water with the 2 children, Nayeon and Seoyeon. The 2 girls brought the bottle of water they had just received to their mouths and drank continuously. He drank so fast that he coughed and choked on the water, causing Hyewon to ask worriedly, "Seoyeon, are you okay?" Seon looked at this situation and didn't know how to start the conversation. Then he held out the tangerine in his hand and asked, "Do you like to eat tangerines?" He reached out and placed the tangerine in Seoyeon's hand here. The 2 girls took it from his hand with a bit of caution. "Thank you." Seoyeon looked at the tangerine in her hand, and saliva flowed out of her mouth. Hyewon said, "Wait, let me peel it for you." Then she reached out and took it. The tangerine was now peeled. She gave the inside back to her daughter. Hyewon stuffed the tangerine into Seoyeon's mouth, who was standing there. After chewing, a feeling flashed through her head. A satisfied joy of eating a delicious dish appeared on that little face. Hyewon happily asked her daughter, "Is it sweet?" The little girl happily replied to her in a sweet voice, "It's very sweet." Nayeon also pointed at herself with an excited voice, "Mom, me too, me too." After eating, her face was quite satisfied. The system now shows the following notifications: Citizen Choi Hyungjun, Citizen Park, Hyewon, Citizen Choi Nayeon, Citizen Choi Seoyeon. All have increased their citizen trust. Choi Seoyeon's trust has reached 50. Long loyalty has been unlocked. Choi Seoyeon's loyalty has surpassed 30. Choi Seoyeon has met the requirements to be registered as a vassal. The system panel now shows the opponent's information. Name, Choi Seoyeon. Level 2. Trust 57. Awakening chance, none. Experience point distribution rate, 0%. Money distribution rate, 0%. Set quest, expulsion rate. He looked at the bulletin board in front of him and then looked at the family of 4 playing beside him. Sion looked at the little girl Seoyeon in front of him and thought for a while, that kid has met the requirements to register as a vassal. But still too young, he shook his head. Unlike citizens, I can only register 10 vassals. At least one must be at the level of Choi Hyung-jun for them to actually perform their duties. He looked at the guy in front of him who was playing with the girl. The system panel appeared above his head again. Choi Hyung-jun trust 31 level 9. He pondered, but your trust is only 31. I need to make him trust me more. Sion was racking his brain. Hyung-jun suddenly spoke up as if he wanted to say something. He startled and looked up at him, replying, "Yes." He continued, "Thank you so much. I don't know how to repay you." Then he stammered, "Well, let's go out to the hallway and talk." His words made Hyung-jun a bit surprised, okay? The morning sunlight shines through the hallway window. At this time outside the door, only Sion and Hyung-jun were standing looking at each other. He shyly asked, "Have you received your citizenship yet?" Hyung-jun was confused by his question. Then he turned on his system panel. "You have been granted citizenship." The message appeared on the notification bar. Hyung-jun spoke up. "The notification window my whole family received 30 minutes ago." Seon asked, "Did anything special happen?" He looked at the words on the system window and said, Yes, we can't move our bodies for a while." He thought darkly, "They will be frozen temporarily until they get citizenship." Only then did he open his mouth. "Mr. Choi, I will help you get back to your normal life before all this happened," he offered to Hyung-jun. After hearing those words, he was a little surprised. "What?" Sion tried to convince him, "I can guarantee that monsters won't invade your home." Hyung-jun asked confusedly, "Is that possible?" He nodded yes, as if agreeing with him. He closed his eyes and thought for a long time without saying anything. Suddenly, Hyung-jun spoke up. "I know that there is no free cake in this world. What should I do?" Seon asked him to make sure, "What if it could endanger your life?" After hearing that question, he paused for a moment. Hyung-jun was determined. "I still want to try. Even without you, I still have to go out to buy food and drinks." His face was filled with determination. "I bet my life on it." Sion nodded in approval of his will. "You said I just saw a golf set. How much did that cost?" he suddenly asked, making Hyung-jun look quite confused. He scratched his cheek and said, "I think it's about 400,000 or 500,000 won." He thought for a while, "It's too expensive to sell in the store. Right now I need to save money for the future." Hyung-jun wondered and asked, "Why are you asking?" That he waved his hand and stammered nothing. "Just asking." Then he seriously asked, "Do you remember what day the monster appeared?" Hyung-jun thought for a moment. "I remember it was on the weekend." The goblins appeared in his memory. Hyung-jun trembled all over. It was terrifying. Sion agreed, "Yes, I think everyone who was home that day survived." A goblin that doesn't have much power. The image of the goblin being defeated easily appeared in his mind. Their strength is also lower than that of adult men. The real weapon of the goblins is that they always move in groups. But so are people. The images of people that appear seem to light up a glimmer of hope in him. "First I need to develop the army," he said with a gloomy face. Sion suddenly spoke up. "Mr. Choi." Hyung-jun seemed confused and quickly replied, "What?" "From now on," he continued, "I want you to come with me to search for survivors." He clasped his hands together in front of his chest. The apartment complex was immersed in the gloomy evening light. The system announced Citizen Choi Hyung-jun's trust has increased. Sion, lying on the sofa, saw the notification and said, "It's increased again. New information, display system, citizen management. Choi Hyung-jun, trust 40, Park Hyawan trust 32, Choi Nayeon trust 51, Choi Seoyeon trust 63, current population 4,600. He thought to himself with a bit of sadness, "Will I finally be able to meet my family members as I continue to level up?" Sion jumped up when he heard a terrifying scream coming from outside. He ran out to the balcony to watch. He was surprised. Below the apartment is the survivor. He thought, but it will be difficult for me to help them. The goblins kept roaring threats. Hadong Jian flew up holding the ball in his hand. He threw it hard at the goblin, sending it flying away. It screamed in pain and fell down. Sion witnessed the scene just now and couldn't help but exclaim, "What the hell?" Girl shoots 2 arrows at the same time. 2 goblins were shot in the head and died before they could even scream. The boy carried the tennis racket in his hand before their horrified eyes. The guy flew up and crushed the goblin's skull. They were scared and ran away. The group of survivors stood calmly after chasing away the goblins. The girl in purple suddenly noticed something unusual. She quickly raised her bow and arrow, preparing to attack. But then she was surprised when she realized it was just a pack of instant noodles and not a dangerous thing. She looked up and saw Sion on the top floor waving enthusiastically. He waved his hand vigorously, afraid they wouldn't see him. She looked at him a little startled. He tried his best to shout over here. Suddenly there was a noise and Sion exclaimed, "He's here." He looked through the peephole and saw Choi Hyung-jun standing in front of the door holding a box. Seon opened the door and politely said, "Please come in." But Choi Hyung-jun couldn't enter. He was blocked by an invisible barrier in front of the door. The system appeared to the surprise of the 2 people. "It shows not eligible. You are not allowed to enter the house." Choi Hyung-jun wondered, "Not qualified, what does that mean?" Sion looked thoughtfully at the notice board, "Not qualified. You cannot enter the house softly." Said this. He thought, is it true that no one is allowed in my house? He looked at Choi Hyung-jun and analyzed himself. Or is it only my vassals who are allowed in? Choi Hyung-jun didn't go in, but just gave the box he was holding to Seon and said, "I put everything that can be used as a weapon in this box." Seon took it and replied, "Thank you." He put the box on the ground and opened it. Inside are useful weapons such as knives, toolboxes. He ordered the system to open the store. 5 bottles of water and 5 packs of ramen. Choi Hyung-jun looked at the system, giving out the items he just said in amazement. He gave it to Choi Hyung-jun and asked, "Can you put these things at the first floor entrance?" Choi Hyung-jun hesitantly asked, "First floor, is that too dangerous?" Sion calmly reassured, "It's okay. I observed that goblin monsters are only active during the day and—" He remembered the group of survivors just now and made a decision in his heart. "I have to get those people to join me." He imagined they would have no choice but to come looking for me when they realized I had food. Seon said, "I have my own plans." "Just leave it there?" Choi Hyung-jun wondered. "Should I leave it on the first floor and come back?" He replied, "Yes." Choi Hyung-jun agreed. "Okay, so it's easy." He bowed respectfully goodbye. Seon shyly said, "Thank you." He thought, with a good person like him, I should do something worthy, he thought, and then opened the quest window. The system displays a quest. Quest description: bring 5 bottles of water and 5 packs of ramen down to the first floor and back. Time limit 24 hours. Reward a small amount of XP. Penalty for failure, none. Choi Hyung-jun exclaimed in surprise. "What is this?" He immediately explained. "If you complete it, you can get a small amount of XP. Choi Hyung-jun asked, "Is it like leveling up in a game?" Sion replied, "Yes, it's the same. You're level 9 now. When you level up, you will also receive attractive rewards." "I believe in you," he explained. Sion replied, "Okay, I understand." At the exit, Hyung-jun stood hesitantly at the door with a golf club in hand. He walked in and went down each floor. The numbers showing the floor number decreased as he walked. He finally got down to the first floor. He said tiredly, "I need to put this down." He suddenly saw something beside our vague figures. He imagined terrible monsters he thought must avoid immediately. But when he ran away, he fell. The container of water and food in his hand fell to the ground. Hyung-jun lies on the ground in pain. He was scared and shouted, "Get out, get out." He looked back in horror, then scared shouted loudly and raised his hand to block the blow. But in response, he was not attacked, but only a call. He suddenly looked up and saw the group of survivors. They awkwardly asked, "Are you okay?" The system suddenly popped up with a notification: an unauthorized object is trying to enter. Sion exclaimed in surprise when he saw that line. He said, "Could it be? He think he has to see it, then use his ultimate eye skills." He saw Choi Hyung-jun and the group of survivors. The girl in purple said, "This is the apartment building where someone threw a package of ramen," a guy questioned. "This means there's food somewhere." Hadong. Geon replied, "Yes, think about it. We're running out of food." Sion stopped using his skill and said to himself, they are the people just now. The system offers creatures that meet the requirements to become citizens are approaching. Would you like to offer them citizenship? He whispered a proposal for citizenship. He thought in the process of expanding the area, I could have forced citizenship for those who live here. But do outsiders have a choice? He thought uncomfortably of a possibility if then they could refuse my offer. He wondered what to do. Suddenly a loud noise interrupted his train of thought. He looked through the surveillance camera. He suddenly thought of a solution. He said, let's see. Sion walked closer to the surveillance camera. Choi Hyung-run on the screen asked, Are you there, Sion? He immediately replied, Yes, please wait a moment. System notice citizen Choi Hyung-jun is in the process of searching. Do you want to edit the quest? Sion smiled and replied yes. System reminder, please edit task. He said prepare a meal for 6 guests. Receiving system, the task has been refreshed. Outside, Choi Hyung-jun received the notification and asked Sion, what is this? He immediately replied, yes. A new mission. He said, tell them I will feed them first. I have my own plans. Choi Hyung-jun didn't think much and agreed, okay. Choi Hyung-jun turned back to look at the group of people. He said something to them and turned back to inform Sion, now they will accept it. Sion happily replied, great. Thank you. He then ordered the system to offer citizenship to all 6 of them. System display, you have proposed citizenship for Ha Dong-geon, Kang Deok, Soo Kim Gayung, Yoo Hyerin Kim Geon, and Moon Byung-cho. The system continued to announce permission to go to the 30th floor has been granted to Ha Dong-geon, Kang Deok, Soo Kim Gayong, Yoo Hyerin, Kim Geon, and Moon Byung-cho. They crossed the barrier when they accepted citizenship to enter the apartment. Right now, the system displays the information the number of citizens has increased to 10. The amount of XP and money your citizens earn has increased by 10%. Seon repeated in his head the information reward XP and money. He thought that means we will get better rewards when hunting monsters. Soon, everything will return to peaceful days. Display system citizen management. Ha Dong-geon LV23. Trust 19. Kang Deok, Soo LV13. Trust 28. Kim Gayong LV17. Trust 17. Yoo Hyerin LV10. Trust 30. Kim Geon LV11. Trust 15. Moon Byung-cho LV10. Trust 11. Population 10,600. Sion looked at the information and said, level 23 will be as strong as the Caligan I killed before. Seon looks at Ha Dong-geon's information. Name, Ha Dong-geon. Level 23. Trust 19. Awakened ability pitching baseball. XP distribution rate 0%. Money distribution rate 0%. Set quest, exile. Throws D-rank ball, consumes stamina to triple the power of the ball. He silently assessed. As expected, he is a mutant. He analyzed, actually, depending on the baseball thrown, the item can also become a weapon. And if the skill increases power by 3 times, it is enough to kill the monster. He thought about his trust. I can slowly increase it. He crossed his arms and ordered to set the XP distribution rate for all 6 of them to 70%. The information receiving system has completed setup. He said, satisfied, done. Sion thought I just need to give them the task of hunting monsters and I can sit back and still earn both experience and money. It's like auto-hunting in a game. He closed his eyes and thought, of course I still need to get to know them when the time is right. He said to himself, because they could be the key to reuniting me with my family. At this moment the system suddenly announced Citizen Ha Dong-geon's trust has increased. Sion suddenly exclaimed, what? System announcements. Citizen Kim Geong's trust has increased. Citizen Yoo Hyerin's trust has increased. He was surprised why. At this time, Hyung-jun warmly welcomed them. Please come in. They politely replied, thank you. Park Hye-won ran out and asked, what's wrong? Choi Hyung-jun replied, I'll explain everything later. Are you available to help me prepare some food now? Park Hye-won hesitantly said, right now, I'll have to start from scratch. Choi Hyung-jun awkwardly replied to her, please help me with that. I think Sion already has a plan. She bowed her head in thought, then agreed, okay, let me go get ready now. She said to the group of people who had just arrived, please wait a moment. They quickly replied, yes, thank you. Ha Dong-geon has something to say. He hesitantly asked Choi Hyung-jun, what kind of person is Seon? Choi Hyung-jun hesitantly replied honestly, actually, I'm not sure either. Ha Dong-geon was surprised. You're not sure? Choi Hyung-jun admitted, yes. I don't know anything about him other than he's my neighbor. Ha Dongjian thought his neighbor. Hyungjun added, but he's really a good person. All of this is thanks to his help. Ha Donggaeon observed and silently affirmed, that means he is a mutant. He looked at the ramen he was holding and thought he must have amazing abilities to be able to do all of this. He observed the people behind him. Finally, he silently decided, I must make a good impression. He pondered, to have the power to provide electricity, food, and water in today's world is a miraculous ability. He is on another level. Choi Hyungjun politely suggested, it will take a while to prepare the food. Would everyone like to take a shower first? Kim Gyeong and Yoo Hye-erin heard that and shouted, take a bath. Can we really take a bath? Ha Dongjaeon suddenly realized, I get it. If there is electricity, most of the facilities can be used, which means Choi Hyungjun spoke up, yes, and warm water too. The two girls exclaimed in surprise, warm water. Hyungjun continued, this is also part of Seon's ability. He said, I have a bathroom in the living room and the master bedroom, so you two can shower at the same time. I will show you the place. The two girls still couldn't believe it. One said thank you. The other still couldn't get over the surprise and exclaimed, this is amazing. A guy asked, hey, do you think that guy is also a mutant? Ha Donggaeon replied, maybe so. That guy's ability might be much stronger than mine. Me. The other guy laughed. Kwai Tri put his hand on Ha Donggaeon's shoulder and said, don't be discouraged. All we need to do is give one. Ha Donggaeon snapped, crazy. What the hell are you talking about? We should try to impress him if we can. The guy just said that and suddenly asked back, what do you mean? Ha Donggaeon said annoyedly, please don't do anything and keep quiet. The guy smiled and agreed, okay, Ha Donggaeon frowned. In any case, Ha Dongjian said to everyone, our goal is to collect as much food as possible. Let's not mess things up and make sure to read the news carefully, okay? Everyone replied, okay, I understand. To express agreement? At this moment, Moon Byung-cho seemed to have something to worry about. Ha Dongjian realized that, immediately called Byung-cho. He suddenly said, what's wrong? Sorry, I wasn't paying much attention. Ha Dongjaeon, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Moon Byung-cho immediately denied, no. You didn't do anything wrong. Ha Dongjaeon sadly said, no. I'm really sorry. If only I hadn't invited you guys to my housewarming party, I would have. Moon Byung-cho avoided saying it's okay. I'm going because I want to go. Ha Dongjaeon suggested, let's get some food here and go to your grandma's house. Moon Byung-cho agreed. Okay, thank you. Moon Byung-cho sadly bowed his head. He clenched his teeth to hold back, but then he thought it was too late. He imagined monsters and his grandmother. He sadly whispered, the possibility that grandma is still alive is... Ha Dongjaeon spoke up, interrupting Moon Byung-cho's train of thought. It's right nearby, so we can get there if we work together just a little bit harder. Moon Byung-cho replied, I understand. But at this moment, suddenly there was a noise from outside the door. The door slowly opened. A figure appeared at the door. Ha Dongjaeon clenched the ball in his hand. What's going on? Sion appeared. Everyone there had the same thought. We felt it immediately. Sion said, I will help you all. They thought maybe that person... Ha Dongjaeon loosened his grip on the ball, and they all silently affirmed that person might save us. All 7 people sat at the long table crowded together in the small room. Everyone was silent. No one spoke. Park Hye-won was shy. She awkwardly covered her mouth and smiled, saying, sorry everyone, the space is a bit tight. Dongjaeon saw that she intended to erase this gloomy atmosphere, so he smiled, shyly, closed his eyes, and followed her answer. Oh, it's okay. Suddenly we came to bother you. Fat Choi Hyungjun hurriedly brought out the food and said, food is here. When Choi Hyungjun put the food on the table, this group of people immediately opened their eyes wide and looked at the dishes displayed on the table. Park Hye-won blushed with embarrassment. Sweat poured from her body, scratched her head to clear her embarrassment, and asked, I wonder if it's to everyone's taste. On the table were delicious rustic dishes, such as egg rolls, fried eggs, and 2 plates of vegetables. The egg roll on the plate had been touched by a chopstick. The girl with the ponytail just ate that piece of egg and immediately opened her mouth wide. Her mouth was full of saliva. She held the chopsticks and said greedily, so delicious. She shyly wiped the saliva from her mouth with her hand and shouted, it's okay, it's delicious. What a sumptuous feast. Park Hye-won quickly waved her hand and said thanks to the ingredients Sion provided. I almost only had rice and tangerines to entertain the guests. System display board Park Haiwan Trust, 50 LV5. Seon saw the system notification and smiled, thinking to himself, I didn't expect her to reach 50 before Choi Hyung-jun. The whole group was no longer shy and shouted, excuse me, and then started this meal. Ha-dong-geon ate each bite of rice and egg, his face full of enjoyment and happiness. Moon Byung-cho and the people sitting here also found it delicious, their faces full of surprise. The girl with a ponytail exclaimed, the egg rolls are so delicious. But she didn't need to say anything more, she just looked at the black-haired boy sitting next to her, who was like a wild lone wolf, constantly picking up food and throwing it into his mouth, chewing noisily. The girl with short hair asked with a smile, is this the sweet egg roll, the kind you often see in Japanese restaurants? Park Haiwan smiled. Yes, that's right. Everyone please eat comfortably. Choi Soyun looked at her brothers and sisters eating deliciously and also went to her side and called Mom. Oh, the little girl's face was full of sadness, her eyebrows were arched, her hand was placed on her chest, and she whispered, I also want to eat egg rolls. Park Haiwan heard her say that and turned around and said, She gently stroked her head and comforted her. When the guests finish eating, I'll make it for you, okay, Choi? Seo-yeon cried bitterly. Her eyes filled with tears, and she hiccuped hic. Ha-dong-geon and the girl with the ponytail smiled and waved at the little girl, saying, Seo-yeon, let's eat together. Hearing their invitation, the little girl's face lit up and her eyes stopped crying. The girl did not dare to be slow and ran very fast. In an instant, he had crawled into the arms of the girl with a ponytail. His face was cheerful as he stretched his arms to the sides and answered, yes. The girl saw this and smiled smugly. Someone heard him exclaim, oh my God. The girl picked up a piece of egg roll and said, Soyeon ah. Seo-yeon placed her hands on both cheeks. Eyes closed, tightly, opened her mouth to put the egg in her mouth. Choi Hyung-jun and Park Haiwan saw their daughter being so easygoing and were a bit worried as they stared at her. But the two sisters were very happy as they ate and chatted. Seeing that Seon called out, everyone come here and eat, there's still rice left. Both husband and wife glanced at each other well. Immediately after that, they smiled brightly and made a decision in unison, saying, let's eat together. Despite the people eating and chatting, Seon bowed his head under the table as if to separate himself from that noisy world. Seon felt a little nostalgic. He chewed the egg in his mouth and thought to himself, it's been a long time since I felt this close and friendly. On the slightly crumpled piece of paper were clearly written 5 words to my beloved son. Seon remembered that piece of paper and closed his eyes again, silently praying for peace. I hope everyone is safe. The food on the table was quickly cleared by everyone's stomachs. Choi Seo-yeon, after eating her fill of rice, felt her eyes getting heavy as if they were about to stick together. She walked over to her mother, rubbed her eyes, and said, Mom, I'm sleepy. Park Haiwan saw that and picked up the little girl, then smiled and looked at Choi Na-yeon standing next to her and said, okay, then both of you come sleep with Mom. The older sister replied, yes. Seon glanced at the 3 of them. Then he turned back to the main topic. He looked at the crowd and said, then let's continue the story from earlier. Hearing this, the faces of the people present changed slightly. Seon went straight to the point and asked them why they couldn't go to Grandma's house, even though it was so close. Ha-dong-geon's face was covered in sweat. He hesitated a bit before answering because of the elves. Seon heard the name of that creature and was surprised to ask. Goblin Dong-geon replied, yes. He recalled the scene of a group of goblins gathering in the apartment building's parking garage. Each one was very large. He said nervously, it seems that the apartment building's parking garage is their ideal hiding place. So the goblins have occupied that place. Seon rested his chin in thought. His face darkened as he said, the basement parking lot. Ha-dong-geon immediately said, it seems like there are thousands of them gathered there. Seon worriedly thought to himself, the current absolute power of the residence only works up to the 30th floor, so the goblins can infiltrate the apartment through the basement. Ha-dong-geon told him their concerns. All the entrances and exits of the apartment building lead to the basement parking lot, so we don't dare go out. Seon heard that and said, I remember there was a secret passage. He also nodded and said, yes, our original goal was to escape through that passage. But there is something there that looks more dangerous than a goblin. As soon as this was said, Seon was terrified. His face darkened even more, and he asked, more dangerous. Ha Dongjian recalled that the monster had many long, sharp teeth and a huge mouth. He said out loud his thoughts looked like a wolf or a bear. He told Sion what happened at that time. That huge monster alone fought with all 7 goblins. Blood was also splattered from there. That monster was fighting with the 7 goblins. Thanks to that, we escaped. Sion frowned and said, wolf or bear. Ha Dongjian was scared, remembering the scene at that time. His face unconsciously wrinkled. The fear was still there. He said, yes, we don't know either. It was too dark at that time. Hearing that, Sion crossed his arms and said, so the only way left is to attack head on. He said, yes. Ha Dongjian pursed his lips and said, but we've reached our limit. Sion didn't understand what he was trying to say, so she tilted her head and asked, what limit? The girl with a ponytail and a gloomy face spoke their mind. Our weapons are only bows and arrows and baseballs, and those are consumables. Sion reached out and said, leave that to me. Let me see the bow and arrow and volleyball, okay? They immediately brought weapons in front of him and said, here you go. The system displays. Do you want to register this item? Sion didn't even think, just picked up the ball and answered yes immediately. Then he looked at the bow and arrow on the table and said, the bow looked so crude that Sion was shocked when he saw the item's name on the system. Compound bows are good quality. To register, you need 1530,001. The system asks again, do you want to register? But he didn't think much, just picked up the bow, looked at it, and answered yes. He asked, does anyone know how to shoot a bow? When everyone heard his question, they immediately looked away, trying to change the atmosphere. Suddenly, there was silence. Sion ignored the atmosphere and still spoke up. Buy 5 sets of bows and arrows, 5 sets of arrows. If you don't know how to shoot, then take this opportunity to practice. You'll have to use it later anyway. Sion said as the system emitted a green light and brought him the items he requested. The system immediately gave system notifications. Citizen Ha Dongjian, Citizen Kim Gayong, Citizen Yu Hairen's trust increased. Moon Byung-cho saw the weapons placed on the table. His face showed shock and panic, thinking to himself, unbelievable. Moon Byung-cho thought, worried yet happy. If everyone can use this weapon, we will be able to be more safely protected. The system once again reported that the credibility of Citizen Moon Byung-cho had increased significantly. Ha Dongjian was surprised. He couldn't believe his eyes, but he still unconsciously smiled and said, the hunting speed will definitely increase many times over. Even the gluttonous black-haired guy also grinned and interjected, I'll measure the power of the arrow. The guy with glasses was very happy and said, with this amount, there's no need to try to retrieve it anymore. Sion saw that and immediately interrupted them, raising his hand to give his opinion. Wait first, we need to reduce the number of goblins. Ha Dongjian also had the same opinion as him, so he quickly agreed. Yes. So when do we take action? Sion answered firmly, tomorrow. The group couldn't believe it, so someone hesitantly asked, tomorrow. Sion crossed his arms and without any hesitation affirmed, yes, the sooner the better. Ha Dongjian also thought that it would be better, but was still a bit scared, and sweating profusely said, that's right, but in front of everyone sitting here, Sion dared to speak out his plan, affirming something that no one was sure of. Tomorrow I will definitely save Moon Byung-cho's grandmother first. Moon Byung-cho heard that his face was no longer gloomy like before. Instead, he smiled happily, and his heart felt lighter. Ha Dongjian had a little faith in him, but still asked a little doubtfully, how could that be? Sion smiled and said, yes, if we use the bait tactic. Sion smiled and said, it's just using bait tactics. Hearing his strategy, everyone fell silent and held their breath looking at him. Ha Dongjian hesitated slightly, propping his chin up with his eyebrows thinking, and even let out a hum. The girl with a ponytail felt that this tactic was quite good, saying, who knows? The guy with glasses said nervously, as long as everything goes smoothly. The system brought up a notification. Citizen Choi Hyung-jun has completed the mission. 30,000 won of mission cost has been used. Sion looked over in surprise and said, huh? He remembered that he had given a mission to Choi Hyung-jun. But he didn't expect that it would cost money, so he thought to himself, it would cost money. That is, as long as you have money, you can upgrade your citizens. Sion thought and imagined the example of Hyung-jun being stuffed with money and immediately upgrading, smiling happily. Sion understood this skill, so he nodded and decided in his heart, Unless it's really necessary, then there's no need to use it for now. The system posted 2 notifications in a row. Citizen Choi Hyung-jun's trust increased. Citizen Choi Hyung-jun's trust reached 50. Loyalty unlocked. Citizen Choi Hyung-jun's loyalty exceeded 30. The notification system has met the conditions for registering a subordinate. The contract was then brought before Sion. It clearly displayed Choi Hyung-jun's name, LV9. Trust 51. Loyalty 62. Awakening skill none. Experience sharing rate 0%. Reward sharing rate 0%. Assignment. Subordinate. Sioned it small with the system subordinate registration Choi Hyung-jun. Just then, Choi Hyung-jun suddenly felt a surge of power pass through him, startling him. He couldn't believe his eyes, so he stared at the body that was emitting green light and asked, "It seems like something is flashing." The system brings up a notification you have appointed your first subordinate. Received the skill to summon subordinates as a reward. Summon the subordinate into the house. However, after being summoned, the subordinate can only be summoned again after 2 hours. After being appointed by Seon as his subordinate, Choi Hyung-jun immediately raised his level to 20 and acquired the awakening skill. Along with that, he became the first believer. His awakening skill was the power of a C-rank gorilla. His passive was to possess the same power as a gorilla. The first believer experience and bonus. But the subordinate killed will be doubled, creating an area within 5 mm outside the house, where the eye of absolute residence can be summoned. Sion was a bit curious. He stared at the system board and asked silently, "Wait, what is this plus button?" he said while curiously clicking on it. The system asks, "Do you want to use 1,000,001 to level up Choi Hyung-jun's subordinate?" Sion saw the 6 zeros long number and was shocked, his heart pounding in disbelief. 1,000,001. Park Hye-won also clearly saw his erratic expression. Seeing him so depressed, she worriedly asked what's wrong. He lowered his head to the table and said, "Nothing." Hyung-jun looked at the rays of light emitted from his body and immediately believed his feelings a little, so he frankly asked Sion, "I feel full of power right now. Is this also because of you?" He didn't deny it either. "Yes, that's right." Hyung-jun felt the strength in his body and said, "I feel like I'm a year younger." Sion smiled with satisfaction. He picked up the bow on the table and leaned forward, bringing it in front of Choi Hyung-jun, saying, "Let's join the campaign this time too." Hyung-jun was shocked and scared, huh? Choi Hyung-jun held the bow in his hand, his hands shaking, making it sway as well. Seon thought to himself, "Citizens get 10% more experience. The effects of subordinates are doubled, so I can get more experience." Sion said, and tried to destroy as many as possible. Choi Hyung-jun wanted to refuse, but didn't dare, so he had to swallow his fear and agree. "Okay." Sion was very satisfied with the answer, so he grinned happily and said, "Then I trust you." A group of people each holding a weapon in their hands entered the first floor. The gluttonous black-haired T-boy leaned over and asked Dong-geon, "Do we need to check the second floor? Just now I saw that the glass doors were all broken. It doesn't look good at all." Ha Dong-geon frowned and reminded, "We still have to check. You heard what Sion said. We came here as a rescue team." Ha Dong-jeon recalls the mission. The first mission Sion gave, bring all the survivors in this apartment building to the 30th floor. Ha Dong-jeon folded his arms and analyzed, the key to this operation is to lure a large number of goblins into the apartment building and then destroy them all at once. He turned to look at everyone and said, "So we need to gather as many survivors as possible. Everyone understands." The black-haired T-boy carried a golf club on his shoulder and said with a smile, "Okay, I understand." Ha Dong-jeon saw that and shouted loudly, "Good, then let's start from room 101. We don't know when the goblins will appear, so everyone should concentrate." The signs 101 and 102 on the wall were covered in blood.